Frazier. Down goes Frazier.
Hey, what's up with it, fam? It's Hot Boxing Minute, your favorite pharmaceutical engineer turned boxing analyst. Back at you with that uncut realness is, of course, only I can bring it to you. We got so many huge fights to end out this month. We're going to be talking about cool boy Stephen Fulton Jr., the unified super bantamweight champion, going out to Japan to fight the monster, Naoya Inoue. I love this fight. If you're a hardcore purist boxing fan, you should love this fight. And I know in the past we've had critiques about the best not fighting the best. I don't really know what to say about people who aren't seeing the best fight the best. This year's been amazing. We're adding cool boy Steph, Stephen Fulton, and Naoya Inoue going at it this Tuesday. It is currently Saturday, so we've got about 3 days until that fight, and you gotta love it. The blog sites, the Twitterverses, the YouTube boxing channels, everybody is talking about this fight, and rightfully so. They should. You got two great fighters. You got cool boy Stephen Fulton Jr., you got Naoya Inoue, two undefeated, red-hot fighters, both of them young, both of them in their prime. Cool boy Stephen Fulton is 29, Naoya Inoue is 30. Did I say they're undefeated yet? Cool boy Stephen Fulton is a unified bantamweight champion. He has the WBO and WBC straps, if I'm not mistaken. And Naoya Inoue is testing the waters for the first time at the super bantamweight division, that 122-pound limit, to achieve success in his fourth weight division. Mind you, Naoya Inoue started at 108 pounds, so he's moved up a significant amount of weight classes for this huge monumental opportunity. It's going down in Japan this Tuesday. They're both getting paid millions for this. Boxing community, how do you think that fight plays out between cool boy Stephen Fulton and Naoya Inoue? Let me know in the comments section, y'all. We got to chop this one up. So, you know, Stephen Fulton going into this fight definitely has the size advantage. So if you don't know, cool boy Stephen Fulton is 5'6.5" with a 70.5 inch. So let's really quickly, let's talk about the physical dimensions, because when Stephen Fulton and Naoya Inoue stand right next to each other, you can see the differences. And I know people hate when boxing analysts throw out numbers, but cool boy Stephen is 5'6.5" with a 70.5 inch reach. Naoya Inoue is 5'5" with a 67-inch reach. So the main important thing for cool boy Stephen is that he has 3.5 inches of reach. That's going to play a difference, or it should play a factor with a guy like Stephen Fulton, because he does have a very educated jab, and we've seen him use it in his fights. Will he be able to use that jab to keep Naoya Inoue from going inside his preferred mid-range? Not that Stephen Fulton can't fight in the mid-range. He's capable of doing that too. This is such a fun fight. Cool boy Stephen Fulton Jr. has shown throughout his boxing career that he's capable of fighting in different styles. I think the greatest strength to Stephen Fulton Jr. is his ability to adapt to any style given to him. He's shown he can fight on the front foot, the back foot. He can move laterally. He can fight behind his jab. He throws his combinations well. In the case of his fight with Angelo Leo and his fight with Brandon Figueroa, it was in the trenches. It was up close. There was not much space in between either of those fighters during the fight, the duration of those 12 rounds that he fought both of those fighters at. And then he had that fight against Danny Roman, the former unified champion. Danny Roman was a force of nature in that super bantamweight division too, but he ended up losing those straps to MJ Akhmadaliev. Anyways, cool boy Steph and Danny Roman ended up fighting. That was the last fight for Stephen Fulton in the build-up to this Naoya Inoue fight. And that was where cool boy Stephen Fulton showed that he can fight mid-range, he can fight long-range, he can fight effectively off that back foot. He's like a stylistic chameleon, and he showed a great mastery for all of them. Despite the fact that he only has 8 knockouts in his 21-fight professional career, he definitely has the power to keep opponents honest, and definitely has that skill set to where he can adapt his styles inside that ring. And that's the contrast, very sharp to Naoya Inoue. Naoya Inoue is a classic pressure fighter. He uses precise punching and his combinations and everything built off that jab to really pressure his opponents. And what he will do is he'll use that power to get that respect early, and it eventually gets to the point where his opponents are so concerned about that power that he takes advantage of it and uses it to catch them slipping and where they keep their hand open, whether it be up top or down low. His specialty with his body punching, that's his specialty. His specialty is body punching, but he can knock you out with headshots also. But he showed in fights like against Nonito Donaire in that first fight During the World Boxing Super Series, he dropped Nonito Donaire, despite the fact that Inoue had a fractured face. He knocked out Michael Desmarinas with a body shot, dropped Antonio Nieves with a body shot. You know, he's known for that power with his body shots. And we've seen Cool Boy Steph, he was getting tagged with the body shot by Brandon Figueroa. Will that play a factor? Will Naoya Inoue's body punching skills play a significant factor into this fight against Cool Boy Steph? I assume he's going to have to use some of that body punching because Cool Boy Stephen has such a significant frame, such a size advantage over Naoya Inoue, despite the fact that they're the same weight. Cool Boy Steph has been at this weight for quite a while, so he's more accustomed to being in that super bantamweight frame. And it's such a fun fight. You know, a lot of people, they aren't really super familiar with Naoya Inoue, but he has really been putting in a lot of work. He's just a knockout machine, a man with phenomenal amounts of power. His knockout to win ratio is at 88%. And that's something you can't sniffle at. You can't sniffle at. When you're analyzing Naoya Inoue, about the only place you can really search for weaknesses is in the fight he struggled the most at. That Super 6 fight that he had against Nonito Donaire back in 2019 is probably going to be your best source of information for tactically what you can do against Naoya Inoue. If you watch that fight, Nonito Donaire was having a lot of success punching with Naoya Inoue. Now, that could be a dangerous proposition for a fighter. Yes, you want to punch with the fighter, easier said than done. Naoya Inoue has that one-punch stopping power, so you got to be concerned with that. But in that affair that he had with Nonito Donaire, he was fighting a guy that also has one-punch stopping power in Nonito Donaire. So it was two guys with a lot of power punching with each other. Naoya Inoue has shown that he can be hit with counterless and overhand rights. So I'm sure Stephen Fulton hopefully went and watched that footage and knows that if he plays that timing and rhythm game correctly, he can punch with Naoya Inoue or catch and shoot off Naoya Inoue's punches and throw that right hand or that left hand to get similar success to what Nonito Donaire had in that first fight with Naoya Inoue in 2019. You got to give it up to Naoya Inoue because he's a straight dog. He fought with a fractured face. In that fight with Nonito Donaire, we saw the same kind of grit and determination on the part of Stephen Fulton in his fight with Brandon Figueroa. Brandon Figueroa is one of those relentless pressure fighters. He threw a lot of body shots. You can see there were certain moments where those body shots were bugging Stephen Fulton Jr., but Stephen Fulton Jr. pressed on and got the win in the same way. Naoya Inoue pressed on, and pretty much him getting cracked by Nonito Donaire and getting his face broken, despite the fact that Nonito Donaire had success landing that hook for very large stretches of that fight, Naoya Inoue pretty much dominated Donaire. So that second fight was very different. That second fight was a 2-round slaughter. That was a 2-round slaughter in which Nonito Donaire pretty much had no answers. He was 41 years old, if I'm not mistaken, up against a prime Naoya Inoue. So Naoya Inoue just recently got the undisputed bantamweight straps, beating Butler. What's Butler's first name? Paul Butler. We couldn't get much information off of that fight with Naoya Inoue and Paul Butler because Paul Butler wasn't really fighting. He was just trying to survive that match. It's very hard to look good against a fighter in a fight when the person you're fighting against has only one concern, surviving until the bell rings. Paul Butler was not trying to engage Naoya Inoue. Didn't really matter. Naoya Inoue ended up getting him out of there by the 11th round. And in that fight, Naoya Inoue became the undisputed bantamweight champion. So now we got Naoya Inoue moving up to his 4th division at 122 pounds to challenge Stephen Fulton Jr. for his unified straps, the WBO and WBC. The only other champion in that super bantamweight division is Marlon Tapales. He has the other 2 belts. He just got those recently off of MJ Akhmadaliev. For those of you that follow boxing closely, we were trying to get the MJ Akhmadaliev Stephen Fulton Jr. title unification fight. For one reason or another, it never happened. So now we're waiting for the fallout between Stephen Fulton and Naoya Inoue in this upcoming fight on Tuesday. And in theory, the winner of that fight should be the one to get that crack at Marlon Tapales. Although who knows? It might be a super entertaining fight between Naoya Inoue and Stephen Fulton that might warrant a rematch. I don't believe currently there is a rematch clause in their fight contract, but if it's entertaining enough, I'm sure Stephen Fulton wouldn't have any problem going back to Japan and making more millions in a fight against Naoya Inoue. Unfortunately, he won't see that kind of gate receipts or that kind of figures, the $1 million paychecks, fighting a guy like Naoya Inoue here in the States. Naoya Inoue is a superstar over there. So if he wants to make that money, if anybody wants to make that money in that super bantamweight division, they're going to want to have to fight Naoya Inoue out there in Japan. How does this fight break down? I don't really know, folks. I can see two paths in this fight. I can see Naoya Inoue slowly breaking down Stephen Fulton and getting the stoppage in the second half of the fight, just that power being overwhelming. Or I can see Stephen Fulton's size nullifying Naoya Inoue's power. If Stephen Fulton's size can nullify that power or at least help him to be able to take some of that power, it'll be an interesting dogfight because we know Stephen Fulton got that dog in him just like Naoya Inoue does. And if Stephen Fulton's natural size advantage can help him absorb those power shots, I can see Stephen Fulton winning a very tight, closely contested decision win. So my choice on this is either going to be a late stoppage by Naoya Inoue if that power translates. If that power does not translate up into his fourth weight division, I'm thinking it's going to be a decision on behalf of Cool Boy Fulton. So, boxing community, for those of you watching this fight or emotionally invested in this fight, how do you think that plays out between Cool Boy Stephen Fulton and Naoya Inoue this Tuesday for the Unified Super Bantamweight Championship of the World? Let me know in the comment section, y'all. Let's chop this up. Anyways, I just want to get my words out on that matchup. It's a fun fight. I'm glad everyone's talking about it. More fights, more analysis coming up in the future. Anyways, y'all hit that like button. If you got any questions, comments, concerns, leave them in the box below. I hope you're already following. This is Hot Boxing Minute, the future of boxing analysis on YouTube and TikTok. Peace.